Well, hello and good morning for me at least. I was planning on making this video last night and my computer crashed on me and I had to kind of remake things this morning. But this is the lesson for 11.4 for CTM, and hopefully you'll find this very helpful in your understanding of installment buying. So here's some new vocab. A lot of these things I'm thinking you're probably not very familiar with, as I was not very familiar with them until I started looking into the lesson a little bit more and preparing myself to teach the lesson here. But let's take a look first at some of these definitions. What are some of these things that we need to know vocab-wise for installment buying? And that looks a little thick to me. I don't want to make it quite that thick, so let's go with that one. There we go. So open-end installment loan. What is an open-end installment loan? First of all, that is something where you can make, it's a loan where you can make variable payments each month. And so I want to bring up our 11.3 lesson just a second. So here's 11.3. We had completed this earlier. These were fixed rates. This is not what I want. I'm sorry. This is compound interest. Sorry, a little discombobulated this morning. 11.2 and 11.3. We will refer back to these, but you can make variable payments each month. I'm actually talking about the fixed installment loans in this lesson. I was thinking that came in a prior lesson, but no. So for each, not each monthly either, each month. It will get better here as we go through this, I promise. So each month, and for example, for example, what's something where this would be the case? If you have a credit card, credit cards are open-end installment loans. So you don't have to make the whole payment or any specific payment except for the minimum amount due on most credit cards each month. They just make you make this minimum payment. As long as you make that minimum payment, you can keep that loan as long as you want. But credit cards, they'll get you. They will bleed you dry in terms of your money if you don't pay those things off in a expedient manner. And then another one, fixed installment loans. So a fixed installment loan, what's the difference between that and an open-end installment loan? Fixed installment loans have it where you pay a fixed amount of money. So the amount doesn't change and it gets paid off at a specific due date here too. So if pay a fixed amount of money for a set number of payments. And generally they are monthly payments. Generally monthly. And to give you some examples of some fixed installment loans you normally see. Tuition, if you are taking out college tuition loans, those are probably going to be paid back in these fixed installment loans monthly. And something, maybe you take out a loan for a car or another type of vehicle, maybe a truck, even a boat, something like that. You probably do a fixed installment loan. Appliances, some of those big ticket items, you might have to take out a fixed installment loan rather than using a credit card. Hopefully you're not using a credit card for a lot of these purchases unless you can pay those things off right away. And then annual percentage rate. And then we use the first letters to come up with this acronym here, APR. You may have heard that. I hope you've heard that at this point in your life. You've heard about APR. This place gives 7.0 APR financing, or we give 2.0 APR financing, something like that. What is APR? It's the true rate of interest charged. So there's this Truth in Lending Act. The government passed this act making people making loners, is that the word I want? Making people that give loans, lenders, well, that's probably more the word I want. Making lenders say what the true rate of interest charged for a loan is. So APR, charged for the loan, APR is is that true rate of interest charged. So that's the number you're really concerned with when you're looking at a loan. You're most concerned with the APR. Finance charge is kind of what it sounds like. It's what they charge you for the loan. That's what the charge is on top of the principal that you borrow. So it's total amount the borrower must pay for use of the loan. Must pay for use of the loan. And it's the sum of the interest and any additional fees. So the interest, that would make sense, that's part of the finance charge. And sometimes they have these additional fees, maybe closing costs if you're looking at a mortgage on a house, maybe commission you might have to pay, something like that. I don't know, there's a lot of different additional fees. They'll get you nickel and dime you a lot of places. So additional, some of interest and any additional fees. There we go. And then one more, and then we'll do some examples from here. So we're getting our skeleton here of things to start building on. So we're going to put some meat on these bones. These definitions are kind of like our bones that we're building off of here. So the total installment price. What is the total installment price? That is all monthly payments plus the down payment. Sometimes you put a down payment on it, so you don't have to borrow quite so much. And I'll put down payment, if any. Sometimes you don't have a down payment, and you just have the monthly payments. Or, another way to define it, kind of depends on the situation, or it's the finance charge plus the purchase price. So the interest and fees plus the amount it costs in the first place if you would have just paid cash for it, plus the purchase price. Alright, so let's check out some examples here. Example 1. We've got this guy named Sammy, and Sammy is going to this used car lot, and he wants to get a car. So Sammy wants to buy a car, a used car, we'll say. Buy a used car for, he found one that he really likes for $8,000, we'll say. And there's an advertised finance option. A lot of these car lots will have their own loans they will give you. So advertised finance option of no down payment. No down payment, 6.5 APR. Alright, so no down payment and 6.5 APR, yes. 6.5% APR. Buy today! I'm hearing this radio guy just blaring this out on the radio. Come down to our lot, see our new cars! And just keep going like that. Do those commercials annoy you? They annoy me. Like if I really wanted to buy your car before, I don't want to buy your car anymore. Determine the finance charge. This is going to be part A to this one. So determine the finance charge. So what's the interest? We're going to say there's no extra fees here for this one, but we're going to need to refer to the table back. I haven't shown you the table here, but it's a table. It shows up on page 623 in your books. So if you want to write that down off to the side, it'd be a good idea. You don't have to, but no, let's actually say you have to. So get out your different color. I'm going to change my mind there. And table 11.2, and we'll write C table 11.2 on page 623. So I'm not going to make you write this table down, but we are going to have to refer to this. I will give you, when we're taking our test in my class, I will give you this table, a copy of the table, and so you don't have to try to memorize all these values in the table. That would be, I think, pretty ridiculous. So for this one, in a different color, make a little side note here. We're going to refer to the table here. So I've got the table copied and pasted here. This is our APR table, so annual percentage rate table. And number of payments, these are our number of installments, you could say. So let's write some background information here down. So determine the finance charge. Using table 11.2, we see that the finance charge per $100 financed is, and so let's check out that table. So this is the finance charge per $100 financed, and we were told, I'm going to circle some things here just to make things a little clearer. 6.5% was our APR, and we had 36 months, so number of payments is going to be 36. So line those two up. You got here and you got here. These other ones are circled because the book has examples where they refer to these circled values here, but this is our value for this one. So for every $100 financed, you're going to be paying a finance charge. You're going to be paying $10.34 more back to them. And so let's apply that to the problem here. So that is $10.34 for this situation, I'll say. So that's what we circled in red. Those two values aligned to give us that number. And since Sammy is financing $8,000, he's financing that whole amount. He didn't make a down payment. The finance charge is, and so hopefully this will make sense to you here. Go back and rewind it and hear me explain it again if it's not making sense the first time. But we're saying it's $8,000, the whole amount charged. We should divide that by 100 because it's per $100 financed. So how many groups of $100 does he have? He has 80 of them if we divide 8,000 by 100. And then we'd be multiplying, there's 80 groups of 100, and for each group of 100 we're paying $10.34. So for 80 groups of them, we'd multiply that by $10.34. And so at that point, I think a calculator would be handy. And so let's also make a little side note in a different color off to the side here. Why am I dividing by 100 again? When you look at this later, I think this will help remind you that we're doing that because it's per $100. So it's per $100 financed. Per, think of divided by. So 80 divided by 100 times 10.34, and that's going to give me, so that'll be 80 times 10.34 gives me $827.20. So that's the finance charge. That is our answer here. So you're going to be paying, in addition to paying back the $8,000 that you borrowed originally, you're going to be paying back $827.20 more in what is interest, basically. And then part B to this one, determine the monthly payment. And intuitively, I'm hoping this makes sense. Again, go back and rewind what I'm about to explain, if not. But you've got $8,000 you borrowed, and you're also going to be paying $827.20 on top of that. So your total monthly payment, if you have 36 months to pay this all back, the $8,000 plus this, we would just take this plus this and divide it by the 36 months. And so that's exactly what we're doing here. So let's figure out the total monthly payment is going to be, let's just put the monthly payment, we'll just write that down here. Monthly payment, leave a little bit of space here so we can make some comments up here. So the monthly payment is going to equal, this is the 8,000 plus the 827 over 36 months. And so right here, this is what I would call the total installment price. If we go back to our definitions, and the total installment price here, all monthly payments plus the down payment, or the finance charge plus the purchase price. The purchase price was $8,000. Finance charge was the $827.20. So this is the total installment price. Let's do this in different colors here. Total installment price, and we're dividing that by this, the number of monthly payments down here. So this is the months. So this is a price, total price per 36 months, will give me the price per month. If you put this into a calculator, you would have, let's just double check that I did that right before. I had worked this one out before, but we have this divided by 36 gives me $245.20. So that was good to go from before. So $245.20 payment each month. In 36 months, you'll have your car paid off if you make that payment like that each month. All right, let's check out a second example now. Example 2, we will be referring back to this table. I'm going to clear those annotations that I made there. And so we have a clean slate to work with, you could say. So example 2. Tanya purchasing a couch. And it looks like a nice leather couch right there. Tanya is purchasing a couch for $2,300. And she plans to make a $500 down payment this time. So she's going to put some money down on it. She plans to make a $500 down payment. And she'll finance the rest. And we'll finance, there we go, the rest. And she's told her payments will be $78.97 for 24 months. So part A for this one, determine the finance charge once again here. So how much is she actually paying on top of the $2,300 that it would have cost had she paid straight up cash for it? So determine the finance charge. And so for this one, go back to our definitions here. The total installment price, it's all the monthly payments plus the down payment. We did have a down payment here that we made. So the total installment price, let's see, let me go back to that. All the monthly payments. So we don't know the total of the monthly payments yet. We have to figure that out. So whoops, I don't want to go to that one yet. So determine the finance charge here. It's going to be, write it down like this, total installment price equal the monthly payments. I'll say all monthly payments. So all monthly payments plus the finance charge. So all the monthly payments will come out to, this will be $78.97 times the 24 months here. So let's underline this part in our different color, and let's put a little arrow here. That's where those numbers are coming from. Finance charge, we are trying to figure that out. And so, and that's why that wasn't making sense. I'm like, what's going on here? This is supposed to be down payment, sorry about that. So let's fix that. This, I meant to write down payment. Just thinking of the next part. It looks like, so down payment. And so this would be plus the, she made the $500 down payment. $78.97 times 24. Let's figure that out in a quick second. 78 times a quick second rather than a slow second. $18.95.28. $18.95.28 plus $500. So the total installment price, that's going to equal $2,395.28. So now the finance charge, we can figure that out pretty easily from there. So you have this amount that you're paying total, and then this is what it would have cost with straight up cash. So you just take this, hopefully intuitively this makes sense to you. Take this minus this, that's your finance charge. So the finance charge is going to equal your installment price minus the cash price. So the amount you borrowed, or what you have to pay back, plus your down payment here is, you have $2,395.28 minus the $2,300 gets you that $95.28 finance charge. So that is it for part A. We got a part B here though, so I'm going to insert a new page after that. I'm not going to have enough space to quite fit that in. Part B is to determine the APR. So the annual percentage rate, what is that? So go back to the thoughts we had back here with example 1. You have your amount, or the finance charge. Yeah, let me rephrase that a little bit. So we're going back to this idea, but we're going to be using this idea and kind of in reverse, you might say. So determine the APR. This is an equation, a little formula that you'll need to remember. The finance charge divided by the amount financed times 100 will give that to you. So if you ever determine the APR, use this finance charge divided by amount financed times 100. What's that going to equal in our circumstance? Well, we just said it was 95.28 for the finance charge. So 95.28 in the amount financed. How much did we actually borrow? That value, if you go back here, you got $2,300 that you paid for it, but you didn't have to borrow at $500. You already put the down payment on that. So we're going to have $2,300 minus the $500. So let's write it like that first. $2,300 is what we would have paid for it. We put a down payment $500 on it, so we only had to borrow $1,800. And we take this times 100. This would be 95.28 over 1,800 times 100. If you wanted to simplify that step before putting it into our calculator here. So 95.28 divided by 1,800. I'm so thankful for calculators. They make these otherwise tedious calculations so much easier. So this is going to be approximately 5.29. And so what this number represents, this is the 5.29 is the amount per $100 that we borrowed. So 5.29 per $100 borrowed. That's the value that we're looking for in the table. So now we're going to go back to that table, so 11.2 here, and find the value that most closely corresponds with that. So we had 5.29, and we had it for, Tanya was doing this loan for 24 months. So look for 24 months. Here's 24 months. And look for if there's a value that's exactly that, great. If not, oh, look at that, 5.29. This one worked out exactly. So 5.29. Sometimes it'll be close, not quite. We're just going to round ours to the nearest 0.5%. The APR then would be right here. So 24 months, 5.29 per $100 financed is your finance charge, and that's going to match up with the 5.0 APR. So write that down. This is our final answer. Let's write down, look at this later. We have to remember that we looked at table 11.2. So looking at table 11.2, say these values match up. You could say borrowed or financed here if you wanted to write financed instead. You could do that. These values matched up with 5.0% APR. These values, there we go. We'll say for 24 months, because that's the number of installment payments that we had. Okay, so that's example 2. Let's move on to example 3 here, and we're going to determine if we paid off the loan early now. So sometimes people will do that. They want to pay off the loan early, and so we're going to see a couple different ways, a couple different formulas we can use when that happens. So we're going to go back to example 1 and consider that one again. So using Sammy's car loan from example 1. Suppose Sammy made normal payments when we had decided or seen back there that we were saying is $245.20 per month. You can write per month with a slash divided by per and then MO for month. So per month until month 24. So if I remember right, I think that was a 36-month one is what we said. Yep, so 36 months. And so after 2 years is basically what we have there, after 24 until month 24. When he decides he's got enough money, he's going to pay off the rest of it. So when he decides he wants to pay off the rest of the loan, there's a couple different methods we're going to use here. We're going to learn how to use both of them. Use both the actuarial method. It's a word based on the word actuary. Actuaries are people like these that will crunch numbers for businesses and try to help them be more efficient, help them to use their resources better. Actuaries actually get paid pretty nicely too. If it's a business, if you like math and you're interested in making a good living, I think an actuary is a great career to look into. So use both the actuarial method and the rule of 78ths. I'm not exactly sure why they call it the rule of 78ths. Maybe you could look that up and tell me. Maybe I'll give you some bonus points for that if you can do a little research on that and why it's called the rule of 78ths. But to determine the interest he'll save, as well as what the final payment will be, both methods. And I don't feel like I should try to squeeze what I have to write in here in the rest of the space. So I'm going to add a new page here, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to make a little table. Please do the same yourself. We're going to split this up into actuarial method and the rule of 78ths method. So let's put the actuarial method over here. And the rule of 78ths over here. And so there's some equations that go along with these. These are not going to be equations that I'm going to try to make you memorize. I will give you these equations on the test. So this is the equation for the actuarial method. This is the equation for the rule of 78ths, and then it tells you underneath that what all those variables, what they mean, what the meaning of the variables is. So let's write down the equation though. U is N. U is standing for unearned interest. So it's the interest, in other words, interest you don't have to pay anymore because you made a payment early. You paid off the rest of the loan early. So N times P times V over 100 plus V for the actuarial method. And then over here they have U equals F times K plus 1 over N times N plus 1. We are not going to get into the details of why these are the actual equations, why they work. That's beyond the scope of this class. We're just going to use them and utilize them to see what it actually is. So, and the number of remaining monthly payments, excluding the current payment. And so we had, in this case, our N is going to be a 12 because we had 12 remaining monthly payments, excluding this payment right now. This number, get your different color out, and let's put some things off to the side here. This number comes from the fact that 36 minus 24 is 12. If you go back to example 1, the original loan was going to be for 36 months, but Sammy's going to pay it off in 24 months. So we use the number 12 right there. P stands for the monthly payment. So that was $245.20. That's coming from the example already. And then this is getting multiplied by, we're going to figure out what that V is in a second, but let's just make a little note. Over here, this is the monthly payment. Doing this in a different color here, the monthly payment. If you want to abbreviate payment like that, P-Y-M-T, that's okay. And then what about this value here? That value is supposed to stand for V, the value from the APR table that corresponds to the annual percentage rate for the number of remaining payments. So referring back to example 1 here, Sammy had 6.5% APR, 36 months, but the remaining payments are going to be 12 months. So let's clear this table again. And so look now for 12 months. This is the number of remaining payments, 12 months. It was at 6.5% APR. So line those up and you get 3.56. So that right there is the value for V. That's going to be what goes in for V right here. So let's put that in here. 3.56. This value will be the same on the bottom. 3.56. And let's make a little note down here. These two values, these are from the table. They're from table 11.2. So now let's work out the numbers and see what we get on the top. I want you to think of, you don't have to do this in a different color, but always think of, I'm drawing these in yellow because they're sort of invisible, but you want to do all this together first and divide that by all of this together. You want to do this and this before you divide. You have to do that, otherwise you're not doing your order of operations correctly. So we have 12. Just clear that, make sure it doesn't do anything with the other numbers that were there before. So 245.2 times 3.56. What does that equal on the top? You'll have that number right there. So this goes on the top, 944. On the bottom, that's pretty easy to do, I hope, in your head. So 103 here, 0.56. From there, take that number, divide it by 103.56, and you have your answer, approximately $101.15. And what's this number represent? This U stands for the unearned interest. We said before that that's representing, that's the same thing as saying the interest saved, the interest you no longer have to pay them because you paid it off early. So it's this much interest saved for the actuarial method. For the rule of 78, what does that look like instead? So what do these numbers stand for? U standing for the same thing, the interest saved, the unearned interest. F is standing for the original finance charge. So let's go back to example 1. And the original finance charge we saw was $827.20. So let's put that in our example here, $827.20. And let's make a note off to the side in our different color for that. This was our original finance charge. Okay, so we got that part. What does K stand for? K is the number of remaining monthly payments, excluding the current payment. So K here is the same thing it looks like is n over here in that one, but we're using k now for that value. So the k is going to be, we got times 12 and times 12 plus 1. And this gets divided by the number of original payments in this formula is standing for n, or n is standing for that. So the number of original payments was 36, and then you'll have a 36 plus 1 there. Again, we're not talking about where these formulas come from. That is a much more complex thing, and we're not talking about that here. If you became an actuary, you might learn about where those things came from. You would definitely want to know where they came from. So let's figure this out, or an accountant maybe not an actuary. It depends on what company you're working for as an actuary. So we got 12 times, that would be 12 plus 1 would be 13 in there. So on the top, this is our value, 129,043.2. On the bottom, you've got 36 times 37. 36 times 37 is, oops, that'll give it to me though, if I don't do the subtraction, 1,332. And so let's plug that into the calculator to finish up. 129,043.2 divided by 1,332 is about this, $96.88. This is the interest saved with the rule of 78. If you want to find out more about the difference between these two things, you can read along in your books on page 625. And so you'll notice the actuarial method is a little better for you if they're using that instead of the rule of 78. There's some states that have actually outlawed the rule of 78 because it's not quite as fair to the consumer, to the person taking out the loan. And so some states have actually banned that. As of the printing of the book that we're using, or as of 2001, it was 17 states that outlawed the rule of 78. So they used to use this before calculators and computers became more prevalent. This was a little easier to do the calculations with, and this formula, they were very close, but this one, even though it's more complex, now that we have calculators and computers, we can use this one a lot more often, a lot easier than it used to be. And so let's now finish up this problem. So we're supposed to find the interest still saved, we just did that, and the final payment will be with both methods. So the final payment shouldn't be too hard to figure out from here. The final payment, if we're saving this interest and we knew how much we were supposed to pay total before, we're just going to take that amount and subtract this interest amount. So the final payment, no, I didn't want to circle that. The final payment equals what you'll have left for the remaining payments minus the interest saved. And this is going to be true for both methods. So I'm kind of overlapping here. This is for both methods. Let's write that underneath it. So whatever your final payment would have been would be what you had left for the remaining payments minus that interest you no longer have to pay because you're paying it off early. So for this case, for the actuarial method, I'm going to continue my table here in a sense down this way. Alright, and so we have, this would be, you got 12 more payments, 12 more months to pay, times the 252, or 245, excuse me, 0.20, and you subtract 101.5 from there. Let's use our different color and also make some arrows here. So that value came from the 36 minus 24, and this is your remaining payments. You had 12 more payments with this much per month to pay, and then this interest saved, that goes in right there. So put this into a calculator. 12 times 245.2 is going to equal that, and subtract 101.15 from that. You're left with 2841.25 as your final payment for the actuarial method. $2,841.25. just our final payment. Over here, it's not going to be much less because you didn't save that much more interest, but a little bit. You saved $4 and some change. And so for over here, it would equal same sort of idea, 12 times 245.2. 20 minus now this 96.88, different color. Let's just put that from here to here. That's where that number came from. And then we work this out, put that into a calculator. You're going to have a $2,845.52 final payment. And so let's move on to another example now. Example 4. You may recognize this guy as Hurley from the show Lost, if you ever watched that show. I know it's no longer on, but a lot of people like that show a lot. Jorge Garcia is his actual name, so I decided to go with the name Jorge here, and that's the most famous Jorge I could think of. So Jorge has a $650 balance on his Visa card. He's got a credit card, so balance on his Visa card as of March 1st. March 1. Assume the values in table 10 or 11, excuse me, assume the values in table 11.3 apply to his credit card. And assume the bank requires repayment within 36 months. We're going to have two parts to this one as well. We're first going to determine the minimum payment due on March 1st. And so if you look in your book and you read about stuff in your book, they say that for the purposes of our book, this class, we're going to say that credit card company, whatever credit card company we're using, unless otherwise stated, they need you to pay it back within 36 months. So that's why we wrote that up here, represents a repayment within 36 months. And so we take this number, 650, this will be the tactic, the approach we use for any problem like this. We're going to take our $650, whatever the balance is, divide that by 36. And so let's just underline some things in your different color. This number came here, and this one shows up right there. So they match up with each other. I'm not going to put a bunch of lines through there. I feel like that's sufficient. So we have this would equal approximately $18.05, 6 cents. Put that into a calculator, and we're going to be rounding up to the nearest whole dollar. So this would be rounded up, guaranteeing payment within 36 months. We're going to say $19 here. So this is our final answer in different color. Let's put a little explanation off to the side here. We're using this because it's the minimum, or the minimum rounded I don't want to say rounded, I want to say due. The minimum due is generally, now I want to say rounded, there we go, generally rounded up to the nearest dollar. That's with credit cards there. So minimum due generally rounded up to the nearest dollar. Parts B, we're going to suppose this is true. Suppose Jorge makes a payment of $200 on March 1st. Determine balance due on April 1st. Due, what's a better E there, on April 1st. April 1, assuming no additional charges or cash advances are made. We'll get to what a cash advance is in a second. So assuming no additional charges or cash advances made. And so for this one now, we're going to go back to our IPRT equation. So interest is principal times rate times time. A simple interest calculation here. Not simple because it's like super easy necessarily. I think it's not that hard though, but simple because that's just what we call it. This is quote unquote simple interest, not compound interest in this situation. So the new principal would be the new amount would be $650 minus $200. So let's make a little note of that. Up here, this is in our different color. We paid $200 of the $650. We're multiplying that by the rate, and the rate here, we don't know the daily rate yet. So we're assuming the values though in table 11.3 apply. We haven't seen that table yet. Here it is. So we're going to say that these are the rates for whatever credit cards we're using unless otherwise told. These rates, just like it says here, these rates with different credit cards, they're going to vary greatly from different accounts, different companies, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discovery Card, things like that, and even localities where you're at will make a difference too. But we're going to assume that we're talking about not an annual percentage rate. That's not going to be using that. We're going to be using the daily one for right now. So the daily one with the purchases, this is not a cash advance. Cash advance is like when you get cash in advance. They give you cash, but then you have to pay it back plus interest at that rate, so a higher rate. Purchases though, we're going to use that 0.034. To change this to a decimal, you got to move that 2 spots. And so the decimal is going to end up here with the rate that we plug in. So this will be 0.000, 3 zeros instead of the 1 because we moved the decimal place 2 spots. So we've got 3 zeros to fill in here. We'd have an extra 0 right there. And we change that. And so we have this, and then 3490. Got to write out the whole thing there. And so where did this number come from? This came from table 11.3. So this is table 11.3, the daily rate. And so since we're using a daily rate, our time needs to be in days as well. How many days are there in the month of March? If you don't know that, you could look it up. But that is something you will have to know how many days each month has. In a further example, I will give you a little rhyme that I use to help me remember what days have what if you never learned that rhyme. So these are the days, 31 days from March 1st to April 1st. And so let's work the numbers out here. This is going to be, I'm just going to take a calculator out at this point. So we take, this will be 450, so I'm going to take 450 times 0.000349, I can leave off that last 0, times 31 would be about this, so 4.8685, round it off, 4.87. So this would be your amount of interest that you have to pay. So what's the new balance due? is our final answer here. So the new balance due is, we would take the amount we would still owe, which would be this part, 650 minus the 200, so 450 plus the finance charge plus the interest. That's going to be 450 plus 487, and that's 454.87. You might think, well, that's not that bad. They only charged me this, but remember, they're charging you basically for nothing. You didn't get anything out of that. You just got the things you were buying, I guess. You got those earlier. But credit cards, if you can ever pay something in cash, or if you can pay off a credit card right when it's due, pay off the whole thing, that's really, I feel like, the only reason you should have a credit card is if you're using it to maybe get rewards or something like that, and you always pay it off in full at the end of the month. Because they're just going to keep, these numbers are just going to keep adding up. And you're going to pay thousands of dollars over your lifetime if you keep piling up credit card bills. This is the reason why a lot of people get in trouble, why a lot of divorces even happen, because of money trouble, because people use credit cards without wisdom. They are not using them wisely. At this point, you may want to pause this video. This video is going to be a little longer one here than the average one. So you might want to pause, you might want to go get a snack, something like that, take a little mental break. We'll get to example 5 here in just a second if you want to pause and return. Otherwise, you can keep watching if you're feeling good. For this example, let's take our different color off to the side. I want you to write this down in a different color. This is for the unpaid balance method. So if you see a question that asks you to use the unpaid balance method, use example 5 here. So SpongeBob. Hi SpongeBob. SpongeBob apparently has a credit card. We didn't know about this, but SpongeBob has a $305 balance. Bad SpongeBob. You should have paid that off. But he's got a $305 balance on his Discover card. As of July 10. So just a little personal information about myself here. I do have some credit cards that I use because I feel like the rewards I get for them are well worth it. You can get cards with some pretty nice rewards. You can get cash back on things. And I'm going to be buying these things anyway, so I just use my credit card and I don't have to carry a bunch of cash around with me too. But I make sure I pay it off in full every month. I make sure I have enough money to actually, in cash, pay what I'm buying for, and then I just use a credit card for convenience. But if I started to pile up bills on my credit card and not pay it off, I'm going to continue to get charged more and more interest. Interest rates on credit cards are usually quite high, and so they're going to really get you. They're going to take you for all you're worth eventually if you don't pay those things off. So again, I would highly recommend you pay off your credit card in full at the end of each month if you have one. But from July 10 to June 9, he charged $222 more to his card. SpongeBob, do you got the money for this, SpongeBob? I don't know. Do you SpongeBob? Do you have the money for this? What are you doing here? So this card, but he also, okay, he made a payment. That's good. He also, should write the word "but" in here, but he also made a payment of $157. Okay, part A. Find the finance charge due on June 10 using the unpaid balance method. You a little better. There we go. Unpaid balance method. And we're going to assume one more thing. Assume the interest rate charged assume the interest rate, I'll just say, is 1.2% per month. So that just means 1.2% per divided by month's MO. What equation are we going to use for this? We'll go back to our simple interest formula. So I is P R T. And so here we have, this is the balance from July 10, 305 times, so he didn't pay that off. This is the unpaid balance method. This is the unpaid amount. So 305 times the monthly payment here. We're going to move this 2 spots, and so we would have 10 after the decimal and then the 12. This is per month. So let's put some things down here in a different color just to remember where these came from. This is the balance from July 10. That's where that number came from. This number comes from the 1.2% per month. And then if you're going to use months for your rates, something per month, then you have to use months for your time as well. How many months is this? This is just 1 month. So we just put a 1 in there. From July 10 to June 9, 1 month. So this is 1 month at 1.2% per month. So we can write it like that. 1 month at 1.25 or 1.2% per month. What does this equal? Put this into a calculator to figure that out. So we have 305 times 0.012 times 1 will just be the same thing, so 3.66. This is the amount of interest they're going to charge. This is the finance charge. So you paid $3.66 to them for use of that money that you had not paid them back yet. You could have got maybe a nice burger or something like that with that, but you just got nothing for it. You just got use of the money for it. So find part B, find the new account balance on June 10. So what did we start at? This should intuitively make sense, I hope. What did we start at? We started at 305. Go back and pause, rewind if you don't catch this the first time. This was the previous balance. Previous balance right here. And then we had some new charges, 222. But we also made a payment, so we add the 222, the new charges, and subtract the amount we pay. We also need to add the 366 finance charge. And so we're adding those three things together, but we're subtracting the amount we paid, and our new balance is going to be, we take those four values, put them all together, and you should get this value. For the sake of time here, I'll just tell you that I plugged that into a calculator earlier. You can double check me if I were getting these things wrong. Again, let me know in class, and I can give you some bonus points if you catch some mistakes. I really appreciate you helping me out make these videos as good as they can be. So these are the new charges. This was the finance charge. I can go back and edit the mistakes on YouTube here, and if you can catch a mistake that I ever made, let me know. I'll make a little caption bubble, something like that, annotation bubble. So this is the payment charge. What is that? That's the payment made right here. So the payment made is the 157. That's where those numbers came from. And again, intuitively that should make sense. You're adding the things that you owed before and the new charges and the interest, and you're subtracting the payment you made to get that final number. Alright, let's take a look now at example 6. Hi Dora. Hi Dora the Explorer. And Dora also has a credit card. Dora, we did not know this. Dora, your little belly's showing there too. I never noticed that before either. I'm going to pull that shirt down a little bit. So what are we using here? This is the average daily balance method. A A lot of credit card companies will use this instead of the unpaid balance method because it is more fair to the consumer. They're basically saying, what did you have on average throughout the month as your daily balance? They'll charge you interest, the finance charge on that instead of what you had at the beginning and the end, something like that. So Dora, we'll see what I mean by that as we go through this example. Dora had a balance of $1,040.26 on her MasterCard. Visa and MasterCard seem to be the ones that the most businesses will accept of all of them. American Express, sometimes they have a little better rewards at certain places. But MasterCard, Visa, one of those is probably the ones, if you're just going to have one credit card, one of those is probably the ones to get, at least as of the making of this video. So as of September 19, her billing date. They're accepted the most places, that's why I say that. Her billing date. During the next month, pardon me, during the next month, she made the following transactions. On September 28, Dora the Explorer charged $193.07 to her credit card. She charged that. Okay, so we got a charge of that on October 2nd. Correction, October 6th. Why did I say 2nd? I don't know. She made a payment of $500. She made a $500 payment. And October 15, she went shopping, got herself a new Gucci backpack, and paid $346.36 for that new Gucci backpack. Oh, Dora, we gotta talk. Okay, so part A, find the average daily balance for the billing period. So let's make a little table here. This will be helpful. Let's go with that. That looks good. I'm going to have the date here. The balance due will be here. The number of days in between the charges or payments will be here. And then the balance times the days will be over here. And let's give these all a heading. To what I just said there. So this will be the date. This one will be the balance due as of that date. Balance due. This one will be the number of days the balance didn't change. And then finally over here, this will be the balance due times the days. It'll be these two values multiplied together. And so let's see what we got. So on September 19, her balance due was $1,040.26. Number of days the balance didn't change. From September 19 to September 28, nothing changed. And so that's going to be a difference of 28 minus 19, a difference of 9 days. And so if we take this number times this number, this is what I got for that. You can just double check me. And I got this value right here. Okay, so 93.62.34. On September 28th, the balance due in red, let's do a little bit above that, but the balance due is going to be $1,200 and $33.33. Where did that come from? Where is that value coming from? Different color here now. This was coming from the 1,040.26 plus this new charge of 193.07. That gets you that number right there. And so how many days did this not change? You're going from September 26 to October 6. Here's that point where I said I'm going to give you a little rhyme to help you remember. You may have heard this, maybe not though. But let's make a little note off to the side here. Write this down. Think 30 days has September. I'm going to abbreviate September and the other months though. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. And then the rest of it goes, all the rest have 31 except February, which has 28, 29 in a leap year. But if you can remember, 30 days has September, April, June, and November. The rest have 31 except for February. So that's what we've got here to go from here to here. Let's make a little double arrow there because I'm saying from there to there. How many days are in between here? You would count up 30 days in September, so 28, 29, 30, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Before it changed on the 6th, you would have a difference of 8 days there. And then multiply this times this, and we get $9,866.64. On October 6th, the new value is going to be, making this $500 payment. You subtract that from that, you get $833.33. That's in different color. Write this above there that this was $1233.33 minus the $500 you paid right here on October 6th. So that value becomes that value right there. This will be from October 6th to October 15. Subtract 15 minus 6. You have a difference of 9 days there where the balance didn't change. This times 9 is 7,499.97. And then October 15, the balance due. She made this new charge here, and it's going to the billing date's always going to be for her on the 19th. So we've got the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. We've got 4 more days to go here, and this value will be $1,179.69. Where did that value come from? Let's write that down as 833.33. Color here plus this charge made on that day, so 346.36. That gets added to get that, and then this value, let's write this down so you remember later where that came from. Different color. It's the days to, not of, the days to the end of the billing period. So days to end of billing period. The days to the 19th, in other words. Multiply this number times this number, and we get 3,000. Hold on a second, that's not 3,000. What I meant to say was 4,000, not 3,000, but $4,718.76. And so from here, we're going to find the sum of all these numbers. Find the total, the sum of these values. Plug this into a calculator. These 4 values will give you a sum of $31,447.74. And the sum of these, just to double check that we got the number of days right, 9 plus 8, 17, plus 9, 26. Plus 4 would be 30, and there are 30 days in September, which is the month that it rolled through the end of, so we would have sum of 30 days. That works out. This, though, is our most important value for sure, but the sum is 30 days here, so that's just a double check that we got that part right. And so I'm going to squeeze this in here. I can get this in here. So the average daily balance would be the sum of the values, and I'll circle this as well. So the sum of the values, the total. When you think of average, think of the total divided by the number of, in this case, days divided by the number of things you have. So this would be 31,447 0.74 on the top, divided by 30 on the bottom. In our different color, let's just make a little quick notation here. This game right here, and this right there. Alright, and then this is going to equal, this will equal, there it is, 1,048. Kind of cram this in here, 1,048.26. Hopefully you have a little more space on your paper. You can do that a little better than I did there, but I didn't want to go to the next page. Just wanted to finish that all here on this page. So 1,048.26. That's the average daily balance, the average amount that was needing to be paid off in the account during that 30-day time span. Part B for this one is going to be, need to add another page there. Part B, we're going to find the finance charge to be paid on October 19. That's the billing date. So on October 19th, the billing date for each month. Assume an interest rate this time we're going to say 1.4% of 1.4% per month. And so at this point, interest for the charge cards, we're going to use the I as PRT equation. We're going to plug in the principal is the 1,048.26. Different color, let's use that here. This is the average daily balance. That's our principal for the purposes of this question. Average daily balance. You're going to be multiplying that by 0.014. That's coming from the rate per month here, so that's the note we'll make there. And then this is per month, so we have times 1. We have a rate in months. Our time has to be in months as well, so per month, that one goes with that. Multiply this out and you get a finance charge of $14.68. I feel like I want to just double check that a second. So 1,048.26 times, I just need to do 0.014, and there it is. So we round that 6.7, that's a 5, so round it up to the 8 there. So this is the finance charge. And in part C, find the balance due on October 19. Not too hard once we know all this other information. Now that we've got all that other stuff, the $1,179.69. This comes from the end of part A. So I'm just going to say this is the end of part A. I'll refer you back to part A here. Was right here. So the end of part A, this value right here is what you have the balance due on October 15, which didn't change until October 19. So that's the balance due on October 19, plus we got this finance charge. They're going to charge us, again, $14.68 for just the use of the money, for nothing else. We didn't get anything for that other than the use of the money. So this value comes in right there. So this is going to equal $1,165.01. Dora, we really need to talk. This continues to go up. You're going to reach your credit limit pretty soon. This is not a good thing. You started at $1,040.26. You got to stop buying these Gucci backpacks. This is not working out for us. All right, example 7. Example 7. We're going to talk about cash advances. So a lot of credit cards will give you the option to take out a cash advance. How does that work out? So a cash advance, they're basically going to give you some cash, but then every day they charge you for that cash until you pay it all back. So they They're not just going to give it to you for free. A credit card is not free money. This is not free money. Stop thinking that if you think that. So suppose you obtain a cash advance from your American Express card for $550 on April 2nd, on April 2. Now we're going to use table 11.3 again, so we're going to refer back to that credit card rate value. We're going to just say that that's our rate, even though rates vary greatly from credit card to credit card. Determine the total due. If you pay off the cash advance, in full on April 27th. With a question like this, cash advance questions like this one, we can use this simple interest formula. So I equals PRT. The principal, you borrowed $550. The rate, let's go back to the table. To find the rate, we have to use that table. So here we are, the rate for cash advances, it says, we're assuming this will be our credit card as well, is this rate. We got to move that decimal 2 spots to change it to a decimal instead of percent. So we're going to have an extra 0 in here, so it'll be 0.000 excuse me, 547. So we'll write that down here. 0.0005477. Got that extra 7 before when I said that, and then this will be, how many days is it from April 2nd to April 27? It's a difference of 25 days. So this value comes from the 550 there. I feel like that should be pretty clear. This one was from table 11.3, and then this one, it's 27 minus the 2. It's all within the same month, so we don't have to figure out days in separate months and add them together. We can just do that, and let's put this into a calculator now. So we have 550 times 0.0005477 times 25. Ta-da! We got $7.53. Approximately $7.53. It's a bad 5. There we go. And so what's the total due? You're going to pay it off in full on April 27. The total due is $550 plus $753. Now let's underline this in red and just make a little mark here. When would be appropriate time to use a cash advance? To get a loan for a car? No, please go get a better rate of interest than this. This is going to just add up like crazy. I think the only real appropriate time to get a cash advance would be if you're in this total bind. Maybe your car breaks down, you don't have any other way to get money except for some sort of cash advance, something like that, and you're in this emergency desperate situation because the credit or the amount the credit card company is going to charge you for interest on cash advances is extremely high. You need to pay those back as soon as possible. Otherwise, it's just going to keep adding up. Alright, we are to our last example. Example 8. Lots of new information in this lesson. Yeah, we put a lot of stuff in here, but it all deals with the same stuff, so it makes sense that they put it all in this lesson. Comparing loan sources. This is a tactic you should use later on in life, or right now in life if you are to that point in life where you're ready to take out a loan for something. So comparing loan sources, and compare the two and see which one's the better deal. So let's say we have this situation. Manpreet doesn't have health insurance. And you can see what happened to Manpreet over here. This is bad news. And she recently broke her arm. So she recently broke her arm. The hospital bill, she had to pay the hospital bill. Hospital bill came to $1,000. Yep, for a broken arm, something really high like this would not be out of the question at all. $1,520.54. That might even be a low estimate. I don't know what it costs to set a broken arm for most hospitals, but we'll say it came to that, and that she could only manage to scrounge up $20.54. That's all she had. She's a poor college student. So she needs she needs let me just subtract those two. She needs a $1,500 loan for the rest. So she's doing her loan shopping, you could say, by comparing some sources. So her bank offered her a 4.5, offered her a loan at 4.5% simple interest. For the duration of the loan. To be repaid in 18 equal monthly payments. She went to a local credit union as well, see what kind of deal they could give her. A local credit union has offered a loan to be repaid in 12 monthly payments. So we're still talking about this $1,500 amount. So in 12 monthly payments of, they just quoted her the price per month, $130.60. Alright, so let's start working through these. Part A. Determine the interest charged for each institution. Determine the interest charged for each place, each institution. Each institution. Institution sounds cooler, so we'll say that. So what is a loan? The loan is for $1,500. So we have a $1,500 loan. That's for both places. We know that's true. And let's make a little table. We'll split this up into our two options. We got the bank and we got the credit union. So let's put the bank over here on the left, put the credit union on the right. Bank. There we go. Credit union. And so the bank, we can use this formula, I is PRT. We can do the same sort of thing as before with that. So a principal, $1,500. The rate, what's the rate they offered? It was 4.5%, so that's going to be 0.045. And the time, this is an annual rate, so the time should be here. Annual would be 18 months divided by 12 months in a year, so that would be 1.5 for the number of years that this is going to be there for, and this would be $101.25 if you work that in a calculator. So this is the interest they're going to charge for the course of the loan, for that whole loan. And And then over here, the interest is going to be, we can figure that out by taking the 12 months times the 130.6. This is the monthly payment times the 12 months that you're going to pay it over the course of. And so this gives you the total amount, and you're going to be subtracting the principal from that. So this is the amount minus the principal. So the total amount charged, including the finance charge, minus that will give me 1567.20 minus 1500. And so initially you look at that and you say, well, clearly this is the better deal because they charged you less interest. But the bank at the same time is letting you pay it in smaller increments over 18 months. Maybe you don't have enough money to pay it in 12 months. Maybe you don't make $130.60 a month extra to be able to pay off this bill. Maybe you have to go a little less. So this might be better for you, even though you have to pay back more interest if you can't pay it back right away. Let's check out part B, and let's determine now the APR. The APR, that true percentage rate. This is going to be helping us to decide which one's actually the better deal. Kind of depends. Yes, you're going to pay back more interest with the bank regardless, but if that's all you can afford, maybe that's the better deal for you. Which one has the better interest rate over the long haul, the true percentage rate? So determine the APR of the loan. To the nearest 0.5% for each institution. Okay, so now let's start working through this first. Mega comma. First, recall that this is going to be true. We had that finance charge. So I'll say recall that we use, when we're figuring out APR, first we need to, with the situation we have here, we need to recall that we use the finance charge over the amount financed times 100 here. So let's make a little table. Again, comparing the bank to the credit union, or left to right. So we're going to use this for both institutions, the bank and the credit union. So over here, the finance charge was $101.25. That came from part A, divided by the 1,500 for the amount financed times 100. That gives you 6.75 approximately if you put that into a calculator. This is $6.75 per $100 financed here. Then over here, you've got the same idea. 67.20 was the interest charge there. That was the finance interest charge for each institution. The amount financed, still $1,500 times 100 gives you $448 exactly on this one. So I didn't put approximately. This one worked out exactly like that. This is that much per $100 financed over here. And so now we go back to the table towards the beginning of this lesson. We use table 11.2. So then we use table 11.2 and find the values. Find the value for each situation here that most closely corresponds to these values. I'll say values. Grammatically there, that find the values. Who's that? And the values that most close. Fine. I wanted to write fine in there. Yeah. So, and find the values that most closely correspond to these values. And by these values, I mean this one and this one. So I'll make one more table. Bank here, the credit union here, and we got 6.75 per $100, and we have 18 monthly payments. Over here, we've got 448 per $100 with 12 monthly payments. And so I want to look at these two. Let's use a different color for this. Kind of combine these two together. Think of these two combined together. Go back to your table, table 11.2. So let's look at table 11.2, and we have one more here. Let's clear this off. So what do we have? 6.75. We're looking at that first with the 18 monthly payments. So circle 18. I will circle 18. You just look at your table in your book there on the appropriate page. Again, this was page 623 is where you can find this table, page 623 in your books. We look at that and we've got this 6.75. So what's that closest to? Is that closer to 6.45 or 6.86? Closer to 6.86. That's a difference of 0.11 instead of a difference of 0.30. So that would be closest. We're rounding to the nearest 0.5% of APR. That would match up with 8.5%. While we're here, I'll do this other one in green. 12 months, matching up with, we're saying 448 per $100 for the other one, 448. That most closely corresponds with, this is 0.09 away from that. That's 0.18 away from that. So this is a little closer right here. So this one is going to be 8.0%. It would be slightly more than 8.0 if we weren't rounding it to the nearest 0.5%. This one would be slightly less than 8.5. So they're actually both pretty close, but this one's going to be just a little bit less. So that second one is the one we're talking about there. It's a lot of slides to go through. Okay, there we go. And so let's make a little note here to finish off what I think may be the longest notes so far, but hopefully you broke it up and took a little break in between there. So closest to 6.86 in the table. So here the APR being approximately 8.5% to the nearest 0.5% as we were told to find in the instructions. So to the nearest 0.5% here, and then this one, different color here again, matching up with this. This is closest to the 4.39 in the table. So we're using approximately 8.0% APR, meaning if we got the math right here, that would mean that this credit union deal, in terms of annual percentage rate, is a slightly better deal than the bank. But you're going to pay off the bank sooner. It's kind of like, what can you afford? If you want to pay it off sooner, go to the bank, even though you might pay on average a little bit more interest with the bank. I should say pay it off sooner with the credit union. I'm sorry, but the bank giving you a little higher APR than the credit union. So I think all around in this one, the credit union is actually the better way to go, unless you just can't afford that monthly payment of $130.60. Then use the bank. Their monthly payment would be a little bit less. All right, so we are through this lesson. and go back, review the ones you need to. Say hi to Dora and SpongeBob again, and I will see you guys later.